Live
All
on
right.
YouTube.
Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction. We're a little short on our staff tonight, but that's all right. We're going to have a great show because we have a great guest. We have with us today CJ Leede, the author, to talk about the Twilight saga. I would say just the movie, but I'm sure we're going to branch into the whole mess that is Twilight. So, CJ, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I don't even think you're prepared for my feelings on Twilight. We're really, when that was suggested as an option, I was like, that's the one. We're doing it.
Perfect.
Oh, it's happening.
That is what we want to hear. But before we do that, before we get into our usual shenanigans with dice rolling, we like to go around and kind of introduce everybody, which will be pretty quick today. So, Jeremy, how about you kick us off, and then I'll go, and we'll end with CJ.
Well, today is my third anniversary with my wife. So this is a way to spend it. That's for sure. But it's great, and we got to watch all the Twilight movies together this week, which, that's everyone will learn my feelings about this as we proceed, and that'll be great.
That is a heck of an anniversary gift, I think.
Who from who?
To Stephanie Meyer, or from Stephanie Meyer to you and your wife.
That was so thoughtful. Oh,
yeah,
my
so
gosh.
thoughtful. Thank you for that update. I love it. Congratulations on 3 years. It feels like just yesterday I was at your wedding. That's crazy.
I know.
My personal update, I just came from another thing. I had a busy night, but it was like really good because I'm going to have stimulating conversation here. And I just came from, in our neighborhood in Bozeman, Montana, we somehow have one of the most renowned translators of Marcus Aurelius, as a neighbor, to our school. And he really likes classical education. So he decided to just give a talk to 25 people in this super intimate setting on the school campus. Really cool. His name is David Hicks. He did a translation of Meditations that is really, really well reviewed. So if you're a Stoic philosophy fan, check that one out. It has a cool cover with the lion with the laurel crown. So to come from that and now this amazing conversation, I'm pretty stoked about all of that intellectual stimulation. So CJ, could you tell the folks tell the folks on Fermented Fiction who you are, where they can find you, and maybe what's going on in your life?
I am CJ Leede. I wrote a book called Maeve and one called American Rapture. And my third one comes out next summer, Headlights. And the American Rapture paperback comes out this next week. So we're doing a whole new round of promo and touring, and it's very exciting. And I was just in Bozeman last week. I know. I missed you. I'm so sad. I know. It would have been awesome. It was beautiful.
It is a gorgeous, gorgeous place.
Absolutely stunning.
Sometimes crowded, but very stunning. Although I say that, and people who actually live in big cities are probably like, you're lying. So, but thank you very much, CJ, for coming on once again. Really excited to talk about Stephanie Meyer and your books. And did I see correctly on an Instagram post on my first Google search that you do Rocky Horror Picture Shows?
So I wondered if this would be misleading. I am throwing a big Halloween party in New York, and we used the Rocky Horror kind of image as the poster.
Okay.
But would I? For sure. It's my favorite movie of all time.
And before we jump into the debate, I have to ask right off the bat, who would you play if you did the live show?
I'd want to play Rocky.
Yeah.
I think that's who I'd want to play.
I forget who the assistant is, the redheaded assistant. I feel like that would be
Magenta.
magenta. That'd be very
Magenta's amazing. Yeah, yeah,
magenta.
yeah.
Yep.
Magenta's killer.
All right. Well, we are here to talk about a different vampire series. And before we do that, we always debate. So I want to know, do y'all have your dice ready? Oh,
No.
Every day.
okay. CJ, you can either roll on your side on like a internet dice, or I can roll for you. That is entirely up to you.
You can roll for me.
Okay. I want to warn you, the last time I rolled for a guest, it was really bad, but I hope this is better.
If it makes you
Exciting.
feel better, I did that roll. And
You
that's-
did do that roll, Jeremy. How the show works, just for anybody who's new, I hope you all are returners, but anyone who's new, our two debaters today, that is CJ and Jeremy, representing the Fermented Fiction side, are going to roll 2d20. Whoever rolls the highest roll has to defend the product, Twilight in this case, whether or not they like it. And whoever rolls the lowest has to attack it. We have a 10-minute timer, and you can use that. You go back and forth in that. So no filibustering, right? We're going to share that 10-minute timer. And at the end, we're going to reveal what we actually think. So no one here is going to be made a liar. If you had to argue the opposite side, don't worry, you'll get to tell your real thoughts. All right, Jeremy, roll your dice. I'll roll for CJ.
Oh yeah. And that is a lovely 12 on the die.
It's not a bad roll. That's a mid roll with some modifiers. That'd be great in D&D. But unfortunately, I got an 18 for CJ Leede. So
Oh my goodness. And real quick question. One Twilight or all Twilights?
CJ, what do you think? Are we going just the first one, or are we opening this up to the whole saga?
Wait, mine like glitched for a second. Who's doing which side?
You won. So you're defending Twilight. Do you want to defend just the first one or the whole saga?
The whole saga.
All right, we're doing the whole
Beautiful.
saga. Okay. Well, I muted. I don't know why I did that. 10-minute timer. Are you ready, CJ? We're going to start with you because the defense always starts. Remember, the 10 minutes is to share, so don't filibuster. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Beginning in 3, 2, 1, debate.
The Twilight Saga is a perfect example of modern Gothic horror. It is an underage, virginal girl, very sheltered, comes into contact with a 200-year-old man, very many bodies in his past. He falls in love with her. He becomes obsessed with her, wants to kill her, claim her, impregnates her. The demon child grows in her belly simultaneously. She has feelings for a shapeshifter who has a deep battle with the vampire. The demon child almost sucks her dry, kills her, and then, of course, ends up being the claimed mate for the shapeshifter. I think it's perfect Gothic horror, and I think it's a problem that people don't view it that way. And it is actually shocking, and nothing is shocking in this world now. Renesmee is shocking.
Okay. Well, I think, perfect could be perhaps an overstatement or just like a regular wrong type of statement, because there is so much that's just we'll say upsetting about the series as a whole that maybe that is indicative of modern Gothic horror, but like that, I don't think that's a good thing. Like, maybe it is common in modern Gothic horror for a dogman to fall in love with a baby, and that baby was too creepy an animatronic baby to not become a creepy CGI baby. But like, so what? Why is that something that should be like imitated or looked up to? Like, why should it be the standard that Michael Sheen plays every scene like he's never had this kind of erection before. Every time. I don't know. I don't know. What it's look, I think the main thing I struggle with when it comes to the Twilight franchise is, let's take Edward Cullen. He is the perfect micro and macrocosm of this entire problem. He's been around for 100 years and can read minds, which means he should know how to not be the weirdest person you've ever encountered in your entire life. But at the same time, as soon as Bella walks into the room in the first Twilight movie, he looks like he just shit himself and is hoping that nobody in the room looks at him. And he just continues that energy throughout the entire movie, while Bella is making him so uncomfortable with her own deeply sexual advances that he decides to trap her in a toxic relationship for eternity. I don't think perfect is the word for that.
This sounds like a great horror story to me. Also, for you to say, like, who does that? Like, who would do this? That's what I'm saying. It's incredibly hard in horror to shock anyone. It's incredibly hard to do something new. That storyline of Renesmee and Jacob imprinting on Renesmee is probably the craziest thing I've ever seen anywhere. And she had the audacity not only to do it, but to fully commit, make it work within the greater storyline, fix it all up at the end, and her fans are completely here for it. I think it's actually like a complete success. I love it. I think everything that's unsettling about it is exactly why it's amazing.
Look, I get that fans are here for it. Yeah, somebody's getting off to this, and that's exactly what I am not okay with. But like, and there's, in addition, on top of like the like big themes, horror, character arcs, whatever, there's also the movie is filled with like even the details make absolutely no sense. Like, we look at Forks as a small town in Washington that I've been to. It's a real weird place to visit, unless of course you feel comforted by Twilight cardboard cutouts in every store, despite the fact that no one from Twilight has ever been there. But also, it's a town of like 3,000 people, and we see the size of the high school that Bella's attending. Apparently, all 3,000 of those people go to that high school. I don't know how they do it. And it's just, here's another thing, and there's always another thing, but why pretend to be in high school at all if you are a family of Draculas? Okay? Like, the amount of documents you would have to falsify to transfer these monsters in like junior, senior year, because not one of them looks like a child. Any single one of them could pass for 38. And they just like, you know what, we need to be in town a little bit longer, so I'm going to falsify a lot of like birth certificates, social security numbers, academic transcripts, so that we can be here for 2 more years instead of showing up being like, hey, I'm 18. They're all 18. Don't worry about it. But
I don't know.
did worry about it.
Maybe they're just ancient monsters who love being around teens, which really does feel like part of this story.
Now, nothing against young people, but I don't want to talk to any of them now.
Yeah.
If I was 100, even less, if you could believe it. Like, if I could read minds like Edward can, I wouldn't get within 100 yards of any school, and frankly, he shouldn't be allowed anyway. A very old man who spends most of the series courting an underage girl.
Horror. It's horror. It's messed up. Like
Is
everybody
it
told
horror
him
if it's
messed
just
up.
yucky?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
You
Shit.
know?
All right.
It's uncomfortable. Like it really is. When you interrogate any part of Twilight, it's really like there are some things that you're like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know if we had to say that or do that. But I do think like that discomfort is actually kind of what you want in certainly a gothic. And gothics always are this way, like very predatory toward the young woman, kind of like strange pacing, like can kind of narratively do what they want. And I don't know. I think she kind of nailed it.
I guess, you know, if the goal is to make me specifically uncomfortable, you know, Stephanie Meyer and the slew of burnt out directors that made these films, you know, they did it. But the box office numbers don't lie. People actually love this and hold up this, we'll call it a romance, as just a romance, which I don't really know. I wouldn't say that millions and millions of people just straight up missing the point and being like, hey, that's good Draculas and kisses. They do good kisses in that movie. Oy. You know, I don't think that's them hitting their mark if just I'm upset. You know?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's miscategorized. I actually feel that this really does firmly sit in gothic horror, but gothic horror always has a romance or at least like a very sexy element. And as far as feeling like whatever Sheen feeling like it's the first time he's ever had that kind of erection, I do think that's a very apt
every time. Oh my god.
Observation, and I would also say feels appropriate for a weirdo, really old vampire hanging out with these teens.
Look, I have a lot of complaints
I
about
don't like
this movie.
It's not good. I want to like be very clear. It's not good. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying it's horrific. So here we are.
I have many things to say about this film, but Michael Sheen's performance is not one of them. That rules.
I loved him
from beginning to end.
He was amazing.
But you know, and look, I'm going to bring this back around to one thing that, look, I think a story should make sense, and from the very beginning, little to nothing
Time. You almost had it, but you
don't worry, we'll get there.
You know, I love it. Great debate, people. CJ, you might have changed my mind. We're going to talk about this. It's great. We're going to talk about this. Before we do that, though, we want to check in on what everyone's drinking, because this is fermented fiction. Might be a boring episode for that, but we'll see, because I'm just drinking water. I'm going to start. Actually, I also have a lemonade from Taco Time, who does not endorse us, but I'm a fan. So
yeah.
That's what I got.
Get in there, Taco Time. We'll hawk your shit.
Jeremy, what are you sipping on tonight?
Well, you see, what I have is a very smoky bottle of scotch, this Kalila 12-year, to just sip on some ice. We got a lot to talk about, okay?
Gotcha. CJ, do you have a drink tonight? Okay, if you don't.
I'm just drinking water now, but I will have a beer when this ends, so we can pretend.
I'm pretending right now.
Couple fun fermented facts for everybody, which there are a plethora if you go on the Twilight IMDb. I'm pulling from the movie here. I know there's a couple facts about the books that I don't really remember, other than like I think it was written from a nightmare or something. And I also know that there's this weird trend on TikTok for a while that was saying like you could say that 9/11 caused Twilight, and it was like this whole
There is
that. That was something. But for the movie, it was shot in 48 days, which is pretty incredible. And we can talk about whether or not that shows. Robert Pattinson actually did play the piano for Bella's lullaby.
Yeah,
he
prepared
prepared
the fingers.
Yeah. As soon as he got cast, he moved to Oregon to train for the role, and did a lot of like physical training, as learning how to fight, play baseball. He got a driver's license for the first time. She's like really leaned into the Edward thing, which was funny because he actually had never read the Twilight novel. He just really liked Kristen Stewart's performance in Into the Wild, and his agent said, "Let's try it," and he got the role. So, what else do I got here? Oh, there's a couple facts about the soundtrack that I just want to use to say this soundtrack,
Banging.
banger, great soundtrack, fantastic early 2000 or mid 2000s alt rock stuff going on. Great soundtrack. Oh, the scene where I don't remember the sister's name.
Alice.
Not
Rosalie.
Alice. Rosalie. The scene where Rosalie breaks the salad bowl out of anger in the kitchen. She actually on the first few takes did like break the bowl and cut her hand open, and that's why for like the rest of the movie she's wearing white gloves, because she suffered an injury there. Forbes estimated that Carlyle had a net worth of $34 billion solely from compound interest accrued over hundreds of years. So that's a very rich man. 5,000 actors auditioned for the role of Edward. Good for you. Good for you, Robert Pattinson. Rob Pattinson. And
Rob Bat, if you will.
Rob Bat. That's right. Taylor Lautner said he was originally only supposed to play Jacob in this movie and was going to be replaced by an older, more muscular actor in the sequels. He explained, "My character in the first book is supposed to be like a 16-year-old scrawny boy, where in New Moon he's supposed to transform into a 25-year-old muscular man. He had to fight for his rollback and gain a bunch of muscle, 20 to 25 pounds of muscle, to be recast," which is crazy. And the final one, because I always found this interesting, I'm not going to lie to the audience here. I read these books in high school. I devoured them in high school. I don't remember them, but I did do that. The apple on the cover of the book is not a symbol for the forbidden, not only a symbol for the forbidden. In the Scandinavian mythology, the apple is a symbol for eternal youth and beauty. However, on her official website, Stephanie Meyer states that she used the apple on the book cover because of the past literary connections, like in Snow White and the golden apple Paris gives to Aphrodite in Greek mythology, and because to her, apples represent choice, which probably was from the Old Testament, obviously. So that is what I got. CJ and Jeremy, do you have any fermented facts for us?
I just watched a compilation of Robert Pattinson talking about how much he hates everything about Twilight. And it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Hatred.
Yeah, that he really does. Those compilations are both funny and painful to watch. But he pulled himself out of his hatred for that. He's got quite a career now.
Yes.
Jeremy, you got anything? Or
let's see. Let's see. Initially, when casting this, Henry Cavill was considered for the role of Edward, and Tom Welling was considered for the role of Emmett. So we could have had a double Superman in this, and it would have been pretty special. That would have been different.
Different vibe, yeah.
It would
very different.
It would have.
Let's see. Do I have other stuff? I don't know if I have other stuff. I maybe don't have other stuff. Just two Supermans.
That reminds me of my favorite fun fact about Henry Cavill, which is it's not even really a fun fact, but when he got cast as Superman, they found like his old neighbor that he had watched her dog and like interviewed her, and she's like, "Yeah, I had no idea he was an actor. He was really nice." And she just like saw the trailer for Superman one day and was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my neighbor. That's Henry." So I love hearing stories like that. as for the final fact, which is always the box office, this movie was, any guesses, a success or a failure?
These movies made a stupid amount of money.
Yeah, huge success. Big time success. Box office giant was Twilight with a worldwide gross of $402 million. And that is on a budget of, let's see here, 37 million. So it made 10.9 times its production budget. And just to remind the audience, a successful film is when it makes 2.5 times its production budget. So Twilight knocked it out of the park big time, which I'm not really surprised. Now, that leads us to our main bulk of the show. Jeremy, you're going to go first, but then we got to give our guests the spotlight. But we want to hear from the opposition. Did you lie? Or are you telling the truth? Do you think Twilight is just a little too weird?
Now, I don't think it's just a little too weird. I think it's exactly too weird. It makes me draw weird lines in the sand that I'm not comfortable with having to draw those lines. And here we are. I didn't say a single untrue thing or even imply a single untrue thing in my whole deal in that debate. Twilight is one of those things where I went to 2 separate, different midnight releases because I was in high school and dating at the time that these things happened. One was a midnight release of the first Twilight DVD at Hot Topic. And okay, that it was okay. That was a movie. And then I saw the third one in theaters, and there was just this unspoken camaraderie with the boyfriends in the theater, just like, yeah, we're doing this, and it's all gonna be okay. This is what being a boyfriend is like right now. And we're like, yeah, okay. And to my surprise, going back many years later, those were the 2 best of the Twilight movies. It's all downhill from there.
How dare you?
Oh,
Like so.
got thoughts.
Like
Listen.
so. Hey.
I like it. Are you?
No.
I'm sorry if I interrupted you. You got more?
No, I mean, I guess we'll get into it unless you want me to relitigate the rest of my notes that I didn't get to.
I think we'll get into it. I'm very curious to hear, CJ, did you lie or were you telling the truth that you think this is just a fantastic display of gothic horror for the modern era?
I really do. I really do. Because to this day, to the boyfriend point, and I'm so sorry, or maybe not sorry that you got to watch these films this week on your anniversary. But I just showed these to my boyfriend for the first time ever. He'd never seen them beyond the first one. He had no idea what happened. He literally, by like the end of the second one, he's like, who does she end up with? Like, that was where we were with things. And I was like, you don't know anything? And he's like, no. So, and he never watches like my movies with me ever. So this was a big deal, and he was kind of invested. And so like we did, 1 and 2, we did 3, and I think it's 3 is when does Renesmee happen?
That's for
Part
4,
one.
part 1.
Four.
Yeah, so the 4th movie. And when I tell you, like, he just was like silent. He was watching the screen. He was glued, locked in, but I could see his brain being like, what's happening? And we watch the most fucked up horror movies, and I don't see that look on his face. And I just thought, oh my God, this woman did something incredible here. She did something amazing. Who would do that? Like, who would think to do it? Who would commit to it? And she did, and it somehow freaking worked. And I'm just, my mind is blown. And also, by the way, I don't love perpetuation of like purity culture. I don't think people need to get married at 18 unless they really, really want to, you know, like I think you can, I don't love a 200-year or 150-year age gap personally.
Yeah.
All of that said, you know, Bella getting married then, fucking crazy. And still I was somehow there for it. Like that's the craziest thing is like they cast a spell or something. And you just like even their funny lines, Bella, where the hell have you been, Loca? You
Yep.
know, like this is the skin of a killer. Like there's so many of those. And yet like I'm in it. And I think there's whatever that witchcraft is, like hell yeah, Stephanie. I'm
Yep.
here for it.
It worked. And I mean, like the fact that her book went from like basically fan fiction nightmare fuel to like the most successful book in the world, like overnight.
She's kind of a genius.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like that hadn't been done since, I mean, it wasn't that far removed from J.K. Rowling, but like there's not many people that happens with. And so I'm kind of with you, CJ, of like, if I could summarize my feelings about the vibe of these books and movies, it's like, because I will fully admit, and people who know me know, I'm like a pretty traditional dude. And I feel like these books and movies are the like, when I'm walking by the couch and there's a reality show on, and I'm like, I'm not going to sit down. Okay. I'm just going to sip my drink and go to the computer room. But you catch a little bit in the background. It's like, oh, Becca's got like a problem with Rosa over there. Okay. And then you circle back out for the next drink, and you're like, so what's going on with Becca? And
you get invested.
You get invested. And soon on like episode 3, you're on the couch and you're like, you're in. And you don't know how you got there, but you're there. That's kind of how I feel about these books.
Yeah, I don't know how this combination of things just had the secret sauce. I don't know why you get that sort of like drawing people in and like, oh god, it's like when you like smell something super weird and you're like, hey, you over there, you need to come and smell this. I think I might be insane right now, but you have to come and smell this. And then they do. And then they get another person until everyone in the building has smelled this weird thing and they're all equally confused together. And they have something to talk about for the next 3 years.
Yeah. Now I do remember, and I'll put this to you first, CJ, of if my memory serves me right, I hated New Moon, both book and movie. Like even when I was reading them in high school and I was like totally a fan, but like not telling anyone. I hated New Moon. Eclipse brought me back, and then Breaking Dawn. I wasn't even a Catholic at the time. I am now, but like the vampire Catholics loved that vibe. So I was like totally in on Breaking Dawn. And then the movie did the whole like dream thing, and I was like, whoa, mixed it up. Am I remembering that sort of sequence correctly? Does everybody on this panel remember it the same, where New Moon was like kind of a trash fire, but the other ones were a little more like catchy, or are we Wolf fans on this podcast?
You go,
You go,
By all
CJ.
means.
okay. Originally, I was with you 100%. I was like, get me out of here. I'm depressed since Edward is gone. Like, I feel like Bella looking out that window. But on second watch, the craziest part for me was like my attraction journey, because, you know, you're always team someone. And this time, for a time, New Moon, whatever the third one is, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn Part 1, like 3 of them, I was like, oh my God, I might be Team Jacob. I was like freaked out about it. I was like, something's wrong. Like, I kind of like these wolves now. I just feel like, you know, it's like they've been here forever. They're the native tribe. They've been there forever. Like, and these fucking 500-year-old like bloodsuckers come in. Like, I don't want them around either. You know, I get it. I'm kind of like, hell yeah. And I don't know, it's kind of Team Jacob, and then he's like such a little bitch at the end. Like, I don't know, something about like the way he was in like Breaking Dawn 1 and 2. I was just like, oh no, I'm not Team Jacob. And now for me, it's all about Charlie Swan.
I was gonna say, I'm as an
best
adult
character?
rewatching Twilight 1, I'm Team Charlie.
How could you not be? But I will say the one consideration that I know was not going to come about, she's Stephanie Meyer's Mormon. I think like this wasn't going to happen for us, but could there have been a scenario in which like Bella didn't have to choose is my question. And might that have been awesome?
Yeah, probably.
Putting that to the universe. But yeah, now all I care about is Charlie.
Charlie's the man. Charlie's the
Yeah,
man.
Charlie rules.
Jeremy, what was your order and what is it now?
So New Moon, right? That was the last time I watched the Twilight films because it's apparently something I have to do more than once. New Moon was the worst. My last viewing, this most recent viewing, it is Breaking Dawn Part 1. Because God, what a boring but also upsetting thing to watch. And the director of that, he won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Not for this, it was for Chicago.
Oh,
But he also directed Gods and Monsters. Then he took this paycheck, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do that. I'll do anything." But no, I do get that New Moon is just the vibes are all off for that one. There's no Bella goes borderline suicidal and depressed because Edward's being Edward. Okay, look. So he tells Bella like, "Oh, we have to move because Carlisle is 10 years older than he looks now," which no, he isn't. They got to town like a couple years ago, and unless he showed up and was like, "Hi, everybody, my name is Dr. Cullen, and I'm 55 years old," then no, he doesn't look. Why would he do that? Did he panic? No. She should know that he's lying, but also, he hears that there's a lot, and it's why I'm never been Team Edward or Team Jacob. I'm Team Bella going to therapy because that's probably better. But so it culminates in a scene in New Moon where Edward thinks that Bella might be dead, and so he calls the Cullen house. Jacob answers somebody else's phone like a psychopath, and he's like, "Charlie's not here. He's planning a funeral." And Edward asks no follow-up questions. None whatsoever. He didn't stop to think, whose?
Well, because he was already shown the vision of Bella jumping off the cliff.
yeah.
So
Look,
he just,
and, you know,
it's still insane that he would not ask a follow-up, but there's a little.
even well, yeah, you know, I get that he makes zero good decisions the whole time.
I have a standing theory that like the vampire brain in Stephanie Meyer's world just stays like where it cognitively was when he got turned. So he's just been like cognitively been a 17-year-old for 200 years, because some of Edward's decisions, I'm like, from 15 to 30, I've already gotten like logical thinking abilities that I didn't ever think I'd have. And I'm still an idiot. But from like 15 to 215, I'd hope you'd have some like measure of being able to think, hey, I'm going to ask for a follow-up.
Yes. A single other question. But yes, that holds up with the lore they put forth in the movie, especially as it regards to like immortal children, which is big no-no. Don't do like Interview with a Vampire and turn a child into a Dracula. Yeah, that's bad.
Yes. Also, I do feel like, not to like go back to it, But I do feel like if you go back to like old Gothic novels, like they make big, fast moves. It is kind of like there's often like a lacking communication, and that is like the issue, that somebody just sort of hears or thinks something and then has a really dramatic response to it. And I don't know, the logistics just didn't bother me. The only logistics I was ever thinking about were regarding that animatronic child.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
God, how was that the
Truly
worst
the
of the
scariest
two
thing I've ever
options?
seen.
That was horrifying. And I gotta ask you before I move on to my more serious writing questions, which will probably also turn goofy because it's Twilight. The Wuthering Heights commercial, because you talk about ancient, like old Gothic literature.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
I
See,
know.
you gotta
It's like
watch
my
it.
favorite book. I'm scared because I
I
love the
would
book
be.
so much. Oh no.
I want to get your take on it, but it seems like it's going to go in a real weird direction. And I thought maybe you'd seen it, and I would get a nice a news take from a author here. But go watch it, and
Okay, I'll
yeah.
report back.
Okay. Well, that's going to lead though. My first question of more serious nature is bold decisions, right? Because both your books, I think, American Rapture and Maeve Fly, seem like big. Like you're definitely not holding back on the horror aspects, on making some really cool choices that your readers can get enveloped in. And Twilight makes that in a different way, but it definitely is a movie and a book series of bold decisions. So first, as a writer going into something like that, do you ever have a hesitancy, or does your mind ever go to like, I don't know if I want to do this? Or is it just like balls to the wall, I'm going to do it? And maybe could you tell us like what one of your favorites that you've done was that bold decision?
I definitely go balls to the wall. And the couple times where I've kind of asked, I have the world's best editor, truly. I'll be like, is that too much? And she's like, should we do more? So I think that we're kind of like, we kind of egg each other on. And yeah, no, I don't know. I like to go big. I kind of feel like, why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you? Like, somebody's spending money on your art, and especially in horror, it's like, I want something wild and crazy.
Nice. And is there one that you're like particularly proud of that made it into the
Proud of? There's a scene that I did wonder if I was gonna have to. There are a few in Maeve. The curling iron, the mouse, everything that happens on the tour bus. The eyeball I thought would be okay. I think those would be the main ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, maybe the curling iron. I was surprised I got away with the curling iron.
I love it. And do you think, okay, now to take it back to Twilight, because we talk about there's different kinds of bold decisions, and Jeremy, hop in whenever. We probably don't have to do the hand raising thing today.
Very well.
There's different kinds of bold decisions. So there's definitely more on the gory side, the body horror, the like fear factor. And then I'm just thinking of like sparkling vampires. That was ballsy, man.
It was ballsy.
Like that, when I watched that again, I was like, that is so bad. But she did it, and she pulled it off, and like got fans of it. And now that's in the vampiric canon now. So forever we will have, there's a subsection of vampires that just sparkle in the sun. Their skin's like diamonds.
Too beautiful.
They're so beautiful. Yeah. So I don't know how those are like different kinds of decisions in my mind. And there's not really a question here other than I just want to hear y'all's thoughts on like.
If I may, there's it's always clear when reading or watching something, when somebody is trying to take a big swing just because that's part of the story they're wanting to tell, versus doing something big and over the top because, like, look how cool and edgy I am. And weirdly, the decisions about like vampire lore fall into that first category in this film. In these films, these books, whatever, Stephenie Meyer wasn't trying to be like, well, she may have been trying to be cool or edgy, but like the big swings she takes, like they don't make you cool, but they do make people pay attention. And like, I weirdly feel like that the reimagining of some of the vampire lore does actually harken back to the initial vibes of like Dracula, where he was this person who would like magically entrance you and seduce you and do all that crap. But for the most part, the actual vampire lore and powers and whatever, they get thrown out the window. And the question is, what if he was just a hot boy?
Yeah,
but they pose that question seriously.
Well, he's a fast, strong hot boy.
He is.
With the best one-liners ever.
The franchise opportunities, though, ended up being pretty big because, at least with merchandising, because they sell, I don't know who your viewers are, but your viewers may or may not know this, that you can get a sparkly Edward Cullen dildo or vibrator that actually goes in the freezer. So then it's cold and sparkly. So those exist. So I think she was just thinking like marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Marketing strategy. Who hasn't wanted to just jump up on an ice sculpture,
Yeah.
If it sparkles.
It sparkles. And she's certainly succeeded, because I mean, I'm thinking of the fervor in which people defended that. Like something about it just grabbed people of like, you'd be like, wow, that's really stupid, sparkling vampires. And they'd be like, you just don't understand. You don't understand that Edward is like the most beautiful. And like, okay, I'm sorry. Like they can sparkle if they want to.
You know what, though? I think if you take one, I don't want to say goofy, if you take one potentially kind of playful, we could call it like idea in, I'm going to call Twilight horror, in like a horror setting, it's almost like the topiary animals in The Shining. It's like, it works because like the rest of it works. You're like, okay, yeah, we have like moving topiary, and like I'm a little afraid, maybe. I don't know.
That's a really good point, because I've never thought about if you took that out of The Shining, it would be kind of dumb.
It'd be so different. It'd be so and even the hose, like the hose is like, I don't think it's inherently scary, but it's there's something like playful and kind of amazing about it.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely instances, I can't think of any specific right now, but I've had that with kin before, where I've come upon one of these weird inventions and just been like, anywhere else this would not work. But somehow you're making me terrified of like a toaster.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That is a really good point. I have so many questions for you, CJ, about both Twilight and the writing. But I want to go to American Rapture, which I can't remember. Is American Rapture older than Maeve Fly? Maeve Fly
It's the newer one.
American Rapture is the newer one. Okay.
Yeah, it was the second one.
So sorry, I am so bad at my job. I've been infinitely curious about this because I am a Catholic and I love, and please, no holds barred, let loose on anything. But like when you're writing a character who's enveloped in a group that's like very divisive and very prominent in the world, is that also kind of a difficult thing? Are you writing from experience there, where you just like, this has to be what the character is? Yeah. How do you approach something that can probably be tedious to certain kinds of audiences, or what do you think about in that kind of headspace, if that made sense?
Yeah. Well, I grew up very Catholic. So for me, the sin, shame, guilt struggle was like a big part of my life, and really kind of kind of messed me up a little bit in terms of feeling like any thought I had was heard and would have like really great consequences, eternal consequences. And I think that was a very difficult way for me to be a teenager in the world, especially like when you do kind of come into your like sort of like more sexual self, and it's like that's inherently like sinful and wrong, at least was what I was taught. And so, yeah, I wrote a book about it. It took me like 10 years. It's a long book. I wrote a lot of pages. But I also love what I love about Catholicism, which I will say, which I came to through writing the book, is like I love the ritual aspects. I love there's like a decadence actually to like it's not an ascetic religion or sect. It's like, I mean, it's pretty decadent. There's like, in terms of the iconography, the music, the incense, like it's very, my church was like, we had like red carpets and like red walls and like dark wood and, you know, the huge organs, like it feels like, you know, these like thick curtains. Feels like Anne Rice, you know?
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love the aesthetic of Catholicism, and that's really where I've come around and found a lot of love for it.
I love that you mentioned that because I think it relates to the conversation we just ended about like things fitting where they fit. Because I've even like I'm a convert and none of my family is Catholic, and so I have these weird conversations, and people like I've had people be like, "Why does the dress like that?" And I'm like, yeah, that kind of looks weird if like you're not like in the cup. Like my wife isn't cat, she's always like, he wears a funny hat, and I'm like, you know what, you're not wrong, but like to me it's not a funny hat, it has a purpose. So I love that you pinpoint that. And then I know Jeremy's got comments, but before that I don't know if we've ever asked an author directly. I probably have. All writing is personal, but like is it hard, if you don't mind me asking, to like walk through that for 10 years and write a long book about something that was painful, something that like I know my brothers talked about how oftentimes writing is just therapy, but yeah, I don't know. Is that a process that you're like happy when it's over, but in the midst of it, you're like struggling, or how does that go?
Yeah, like all of the above. I mean, I kind of think that like like art should hurt a little bit. You know, it's like it has a cost, maybe. Or there's no should. That's what I like. I like art that hurts a little bit. But the cool thing about like working on it for 10 years was I started it really young and then I finished it in my 30s, and I have like a very young protagonist, but also like a lot of like adults who speak to her. So it was a really cool experience getting to kind of like come from both parts of life and kind of like fill in a bit what those perspectives are like. But yeah, no, oftentimes writing is just like brutal. Feels like freaking pulling your fingernails out. But there are moments where it's gorgeous and you're so happy, and yeah, and then you get to put it in the world and you think, God, will everyone hate me? Or and like maybe some people do, but then you just find all these amazing people who are very like-minded and or who got something out of it, and even maybe something you didn't intend. And it's kind of like when you finish a book and hand it over, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And that's kind of like a beautiful thing too that I really love about it.
Yeah. And you know, there is something very interesting because I am currently in the process of trying to finish something that I started writing like several years ago, like pre-COVID type thing, and I have this weird I don't know if it's a benefit, but like having started it in one emotional place that like kicked off why I started writing it in the first place, and now the hindsight of writing from a place beyond where I was at the beginning, having fully gone through it instead of being right in the middle of it, which I think probably explains why I was stuck writing where I was and had to walk away. Because generally, when I have written things in the past, whether it was like music or scripts or anything like that, it was more or less, I have to get this out, or I may die, and that's, yeah. I don't know. Maybe
It
there's an
sounds
answer to
really
questions in there.
exciting.
It is pretty exciting, you know.
Yeah.
It's always very exciting.
I love
Mm.
that there's a very ancient perception of like, which I think has got diluted to something it's not, the muse. And I say that because I've seen a couple interviews with like models who are like, I was this director's muse. And I like the the much older kind of concept of the Greek muse of like, it's literally a spirit that you're like calling upon to speak through you. And I think that's so like profound to think about a story as, like Jeremy just said, if I don't get this out, I'm going to like suffer. Or like you said, CJ, like there's pain to it because it's something that is like in you deeply that you must get out. And yeah, I don't know if that concept of the muse still sticks around, or if I'm just
Maybe we brought it back.
Maybe.
Maybe we brought it back. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said for that, and just kind of like offloading too. Be like, here, maybe I don't need to hold on to this anymore. Like, you have it. See if it does something.
Yeah. I'm going to turn a little bit here. Can you maybe take us behind the process? You've probably been asked this question, but the sort of publication process, because your covers are awesome.
Thank you.
And
I think so too.
I don't know like where the author gets control in any of that, or if you like get to meet the artist, if the artist just does a thing and you're like, wow, this is amazing, or like, what does that look like on the sort of business end?
So I think my covers are kind of a unique situation. There was someone at Nightfire had been following this artist in Connecticut and said, or I think Connecticut, somewhere in the Northeast, and said, I've been wanting to work with her forever. And I think your book, it was Maeve at the time, might be our opportunity to like hit her up. And she's a painter, but she does these like really cool collage paintings. She's done a few like Magic the Gathering cards and like different cool things. And so they hit her up and they said, do you want to like read this book, or we'll send you some like kind of key points from it? And then she did some sketches that were kind of conceptual, and we chose from those. I got to weigh in. That was very cool. And then she sent it back to us with some color options. The eye was 2 different colors. What's black on the bottom could have been red, like could have been more blood, obviously. And then basically then the cover person at Nightfire like formats this painting. She does a full painting, and the Nightfire person formats it to make it look like a book, and we figure out the fonts and everything else. And she is doing my 3rd book cover, which I'm so stoked about. So I've seen sketches, so we know our direction, but I won't know it until like a month from now.
That's amazing. And what is
Absolutely sick.
the 3rd book gonna? Can we hear what that's gonna be about? Or?
Yeah. So I'm like I'm just starting to pitch it this week, so I apologize if this is like lame. But it's called Headlights, and this is my Colorado book. And basically people are showing up or are coming to consciousness on the side of the highway, naked, barefoot, holding the skin of someone they've never met, and they have no memory of how they got there, and they're like 20 miles away from where they started, and they all have a hair tied around their tongues. And the detective who had been working on it forever was about to leave, very tortured, and has a lot of like ghosts in his past. So there's a lot of The Shining in this book. It's the Colorado book, and has to come back and figure it out. I could give more. I think that's good. I think that's a good
great. That is a
taste.
greite taste. That is incredible imagery. I might have nightmares just from that description. I'm infinitely curious about, especially horror authors, like where ideas come from, because I've heard such a variety of. Some people get like a line in their head. I think when we talked to Jeremy, correct me if you remember and I am incorrect, but I think when we talked to oh, now I'm forgetting the name. very famous guy. Paul Tremblay. He said
Oh,
like
that guy.
he gets the end in his head and he like works towards it. So I don't know. Could you walk us through that? Because like I'm imagining if you just like had the image of a person standing with like skin and the tongue thing, it would just be like, this is terrifying. You know.
You know what's crazy is like I've been waiting for this question. I'll get it more like when the book comes out. For both Maeve and Rapture, I can tell you like the exact moment or moments. This book, for the freaking life of me, I like don't remember having these ideas, which is crazy. I remember working on it, but I don't remember like where it came from. It was like it was just there one day. And not just like a little bit. It was like the main character, his whole backstory, like the way he's tied into things, the secondary character is really big, like it was just there. So that's a terrible answer for you. And I'm kind of baffled by it, but maybe something will like unlock in my brain by the time the book comes out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And you call it your Colorado book. Is there a reason for it being the Colorado book?
Well, yeah, so like my project is kind of like I kind of like live part-time on the road, and like I've been everywhere off the side of the highway in America. So yeah, I'm doing like America, you know. I did LA, and I did Wisconsin. My third is Colorado, and then I've got like 9 queued up. We're going to all different states, and so I try to just like paint a picture of places and kind of like do a little bit of justice to the people there, the cool stuff there. Yeah.
You were just in Bozeman, so are we
I
getting,
was.
are we getting a Montana?
I don't have a Montana
Is it?
idea yet, but I would like one. I do have a Wyoming idea, which is kind of why I mean, you know, they're like right over there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I could include it. It could all be like the one region.
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of similarities with that side of Wyoming.
Yeah.
So I would accept that for sure, but I would love a CJ Leede Montana book.
It'll come one day. I mean, look, if like as long as like I'm still here, like I want to finish them. I want to do 50.
That'd be amazing.
So
Do it. You
Uh,
must.
So back to your kind of your original works, not the new one. Maeve Fly. It seems like there's a theme maybe here in the 2, and maybe you've probably been asked this also before, but of this kind of blending of happy-go-lucky kind of purity side of a person and then the darker side, because I think the whole thing of, I'm going to read just off the Goodreads thing because it's a good summary. By day, Maeve Fly works at the happiest place in the world as every child's favorite ice princess, but by neon light glow of Sunset Strip, haunts the dive bars with a drink in one hand and a book in the other. So that dichotomy of the Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, I really like that. Is that something that you're going to continue through? That's just constantly kind of in the back of your head, or is that just was really strong?
yeah, well, I don't know. I like darkness, you know, obviously. I think we all do. And I am always going to try to be a little bit subversive if I can be. I like going for a little bit of shock. You know, like I think it really is hard to be shocked these days. So I think sometimes like I'm I don't know. I just want to kind of push things as far as I can, and I like to go dark, but I also like variety. Like I like a broad color palette in a book, you know? Like there are books that are all black and gray and in my mind, and that works, and I love that. But for me personally, like I always want there to be like a romance subplot. I always want there to be like some kind of like friend familial aspect, like really like a lot of like place and circumstance factoring in, you know, and kind of like pepper it with all kinds of things. Humor, I like to throw in humor even in like the really dark stuff. So yeah, like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you know, and not necessarily to bring it back to the Twilight, but I think that is one of the things that makes watching these movies, especially like particularly watching them with someone, it makes it, you know, like an actual fun time.
Yeah.
Where like if it was just like I love you and like we're Dracula's and like there's dog guys now, that would just be a slog no matter who you're watching it with.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You need a little bit of everything. You need a little bit of Charlie in your life.
Yeah.
We need more Charlie in our lives.
Okay,
That
do need
Charlie
a good dad.
mustache.
Charlie mustache, the best friend vibes with him, and I forget Jacob's dad's name, which is terrible.
What, Billy? Billy Blake?
Billy.
Yeah, that's the most believable relationship in the series, in my
I
opinion.
know, and you don't often get to see a grown man roughhousing with another grown man in a wheelchair
Yeah,
because Hollywood is afraid.
yeah. I was like, you know what? As I was watching it, I was like, I don't know where the chemistry is, and then that happened.
Right
it is.
there.
There's the chemistry right there. I believe that those two watch football together.
I want that movie. I want that fanfic. Okay, that I am really here for.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just two dudes watching football, talking about how their teenagers are doing some weird shit.
One thing leads to another.
Just the weirdest thing.
Weirdest thing.
I'm in.
I would love to get your comments, CJ, on to keep it kind of in the Twilight realm and move away from your books for a bit, is your opinions on some recent Gothic stuff, because you seem to have a strong grasp of that. And I've always thought the Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak was kind of underrated because I don't think it was billed very well. Like, it wasn't billed in the trailers as like the Gothic thing that it was. It was like, this is just a horror movie. It's like, but a very specific type. Do you share that opinion? Is there some stuff that maybe you would suggest to viewers and listeners of like, that's Gothic?
This is where you like kick me out. You're like, she's never coming back on this show, because I watch like I watch nothing. I'm always like so behind. I haven't seen Together. I haven't seen Weapons. I'm like, I don't even know what planet I'm on. But I've heard Crimson Peak is amazing. There's a chick, Krista Carmen, writes a lot of like modern Gothics that are killer. I read another one I recently loved called Blood on Her Tongue. I watched the second half of oh my god, what was the big it was like A24 vibes. Was it Nosferatu?
Oh yeah, loved it.
Nosferatu.
I watched the second half of Nosferatu because my boyfriend had it on, and it was kind of a fun second half. Obviously, I mean, you might not categorize that as a Gothic, but I feel like it's all kind of in the same tradition.
I think so. Yeah.
I'd say so.
But yeah, similar thing where I felt like there was a lot of chemistry. I don't know who was like leaning over the bed with him at the end, but I felt like they weren't like gonna be together, but I felt like a lot of chemistry. And if you're like, she just totally made this scene up, like, it was late at night, so maybe I did. But I think I witnessed a scene that I thought was really interesting, and my boyfriend was like, no, you misread everything. So yeah, anyway, that's my really great contribution to your question.
Hey, you gave
So
us a
good.
whole author. I love, and the second half of Nosferatu. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she's great. She won the Stoker 2 years ago.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Jeremy, are you much of a consumer of Gothic? The subject?
Not as much, except for like as it pertains to doing this very show. So like, I'm just sitting here being like, oh, neat. You know, I watched Nosferatu, like, oh, okay, a lot of wet nightmares in that one. Cool. But you know, I will learn or something. I don't know. I assume. Look, it's like how
You
I
have
didn't
Twilight.
read-
What do you need?
I do have. I do have Twilights. Twilights have happened. You know, well, specifically, my wife has Twilight, but they didn't make the move out to Bozeman with us, so we did rent them on Amazon.
I had to do the same, but that's just because I don't have physical media anymore.
How dare you?
Another question I was just wanting to ask literally anyone who would talk about Twilight with me was, how much is it to be either praised or blamed for the whole trend now of like romantasy and every type of creature in the whole pantheon of creatures being sexy?
100 to 1,000,000%.
But I think there's like simultaneously. So Twilight was like in the mainstream, but this whole time, way before Twilight and still going on now, like mass market paperback bodice busters have existed this entire time, right? Or bodice rippers. And they're not afraid to go wild. And some of the best-selling ones, like now these are getting more mainstream because like suddenly the world is not allergic to the word genre. But there's like a series called it's a newer one, so this would be post Twilight, but this one is called Hot and Badgered, and it's about were badgers. There's a
yes.
whole subgenre now of erotica that's all like monsters and sort of like humanoid beasts. So that's an interesting, but yeah, I don't know. You're totally right. People are unafraid to go all the way with these things. I feel like romantasy is its own thing, but in like the wild west of the world is like the romance erotica zone, because they'll give you every trigger warning. Like they'll take care of their readers in a way that like nobody else does. Like we in horror, we're like, we don't do that. But this is like they lay it all out. But yeah, they get so wild. They get so much wilder than you could ever think. They make like this Renesmee situation. It's like, oh yeah, that it's incredible.
Yeah, it's doing it for somebody, and that's who they're looking for. But yeah, I mean, like smut has existed since time immemorial. So like the romantasy smut resurgence, it's more like Twilight made it okay to be like, we can talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, then
put
of
this on a
course,
bookshelf.
E.L. James, 50 Shades of Grey was kind of like the next gen of Twilight.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And I mean, I'm never gonna be the like snooty. Times are just way more sexualized now, because I mean, I'm teaching Canterbury Tales to sophomores this year, and I had to be like, oh, some of these we just can't do. like they get pretty dirty. And I was very surprised, but I was like, yeah, it's people have had filthy minds forever. But I do think you point to a good thing of like that has been around, but now it's coming to the front. I think I saw it big when I started working at Barnes & Noble for like a short summer of like, that's mainly what people consume on the popular level. It seemed that was usually the section we were pointing people towards. And it's an interesting trend. And when I rewatched this, I saw some of the same tropes start to appear. And I was like, how much was already there and this just played off of them to a more popular level, and how much of them did this kind of like people were like, oh, I can sell off this,
Now, I'm not saying that Stephanie Myers is a prolific consumer of smut, but, evidence kind of points that way a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah. Who's to say?
I love the comment you made, CJ, if you could maybe expand on it a little bit, of like, people aren't afraid of the word genre anymore. What do you mean by that? Because I think I know what you mean by that, but I think the listeners would love to hear.
Yeah, there's a lot here. So horror is the big one. Obviously, that's my realm. Here's my quick soapbox, but like sci-fi, fantasy, romance, thrillers, mysteries, detective novels, westerns, all perennial. They're all the time. And horror, what will people say? Horror is having a moment. Horror is big right now. And I can't understand this idea that horror only gets to like sort of come in these waves. Like people will be like, oh, it happened in the 80s, it's happening again. And I just think, no, we're here to stay. Like people are just finally appreciating what horror is for the first time. And I don't know why for so long, everyone turned their noses down at it when it literally is just a genre in which like you look mortality in the face. That's it. Like you just literally look at this thing that we have to live with all the time forever that we don't want to look at. So it's actually like a pretty incredible genre in that way. But what I'm seeing that I've never seen before is all of these like in huge quantities horror bookstores, horror specific bookstores, romance specific bookstores everywhere. And suddenly, like, the romance novels that might have been like in the back for a while, like some of the ones that we were like, that people would kind of hide away, is like they're front and center. Is like, oh, you want like MMF, dragon, BDSM, like that's right there. Like we got you. So it's really, and it's just this like amazing kind of like no shame. And like there should be no shame about consuming content. Certainly when we watch like 10-second videos all fucking day long, from people we don't know saying nothing. So yeah, I don't know. I think horror is here to stay. My publisher, which is Tor Nightfire, they are the first horror imprint at a Big Five ever. And that was really like, I always talk about my editor, but she was like a big part of that. I think she was part of that big push and had a lot of vision about it. Now I want to say 2 more of the Big Fives have horror imprints, and I kind of feel like more are on the way. Like it's just, I think people realize it's like, oh, we've been missing this entire market we could have been catering to because we thought like one dude basically sold all the commercial successes in it, but like other people can too. And by the way, I love Stephen King. It's just silly that for whatever reason, like people were like, he's the one, It's great. He is the one. He's the king forever. And also like we can have more.
Well, sorry. Getting over a cough. We just talked about this, Clayton and I, and a lot of it was like focused around, I was really, really excited for The Conjuring. Just made 3.5 times its budget in one weekend. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge film geek. And people keep saying, like you said, horror's having its moment. And I'm like, I don't know if this moment is a moment. Like these movies seem to have legs and they keep cranking them out. And they're good. And they're touching on like deep human emotion that normal drama can't, because that fear isn't there. So I think you're right. There's something deeper there that is going to just keep expanding that universe.
Yeah, I think it's similar to like when Wonder Woman first came out and people were like, "Oh wow, are we about to just get a lot of good female superhero movies?" Like, well, not necessarily, but that movie making all the money in the world, it similar to Stephen King making all the money in the world for writing all the horror for the past however long he's been doing it, I don't know. But like it shows that there is a need and that people will show up when something is just good in whatever the genre. So like, because genre is basically just decorations around your story. Sometimes it can tell like it'll inform like the kind of story, but mostly it's just vibes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
100%. And you get the sense that like Stephen King would have been down for everyone to be there too. It was the market. It's just publishing. I did a grad program in New York for writing and I loved it. It was awesome. But literally this was like in 2016 to 2018. Everyone was like, "You're writing horror?" It was like so sort of like unfathomable that somebody would want to do that. And when I was sending out querying for a long time, like all the responses I got were like, nobody wants horror, or like, we're not looking for horror. We're not looking for, I was submitting a vampire story at that time. Nobody like wants vampires. And then it's so funny because like 2 years later, it just explodes. So I don't know. They say in times of political turmoil, horror and comedies tend to do well because they're like kind of cathartic and escapist, and maybe that's something we all need a little bit of,
Yeah. I think we've talked about Jeremy and I's favorite fight ever is Lord of the Rings, but Tolkien, like people forget that he was the same, like you're talking about that in grad school, that's the same thing he went through, of like all his Oxford buddies were like oh, you're writing fairy tales. Like that's below us. And now fantasy is, I don't think,
Yeah.
referred to as that. At least at that like high level of intellectual thing anymore. Like people actually take it more seriously because of what he did, and people build off of him. So I hope that happens for horror, that this isn't just a moment, that there's
I think
legs.
it's happening.
Yeah.
It's
I think it's
happening.
happening. Yeah. And like the way that people show up for horror events, you know, like you'll do one of these tours, it's whatever, 12 stops, and there are people at every one of them, you know, and it's like those are people who had to leave their jobs or their families or whatever to sit for an hour and hear someone talk about a book. Like that's like commitment. It's hard to get out to those things. So I just think, and I see people at those things all the time, like all my friends' books. It's a good time. It's a good time for horror. I feel it.
That's awesome. And you are part of the good time.
Thanks.
I don't have any other questions unless you do, Jeremy. More to Twilight. We can always talk more about Twilight, but
well, look, hey,
Forever.
I
Forever and
can
ever.
go there because like I have more issues to get out here about this. Okay, and
you know, you should have the space, and I'd love to hear CJ's comments on the space that you're about to take.
thank you. I'm just gonna. I guess I'll just get into it. Okay, so we'll start with movie one, right? Edward is beating the crap out of James, and he's gonna kill him. And then Carlisle and everybody shows up, and he's like, "Hey, Edward, you don't have to do this. This isn't who you are. You don't have to be a monster. Bella needs you." And it's like, okay. And he's like, great. Your brothers and sisters, they're gonna rip this guy's head off, tear his arms off, and set him on fire. But you don't have to do that. What? What is this about?
Well, he had to go suck the poison out of Bella.
Okay. Further point. So many people are trying to kill her all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe just let her be a vampire. Okay.
I'm pretty
Just
sure
like-
someone actually makes that argument in the books.
I feel
People
like
make
a lot
that
of people
argument
do.
constantly.
Like I'm
Like,
pretty sure
dude.
someone's like, just turn her, because they're trying to. Like,
Yeah, because
But he hates himself. He thinks he has no soul. He doesn't want to take away her soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then she finally turns and is like, "Oh, this was fine actually. This rules.
yeah, this isn't bad.
I'm not dating some mixture of like cocaine, but also a small bird with brittle bone disease anymore. This is incredible." Like,
See, I
Yeah.
feel like that's where I see the strongest in like the romanticy stuff these days, is like every character. And granted, I've only read like 1.5 of these books, but from what my friends tell me about the plots of many of them, most of the characters have become like that CJ just described, of like the guy that's like, I hate myself, but I love you, and you can't become
Yes.
like me.
Yeah.
Like,
But
I
the
don't know.
women are not like bird bones anymore. They're like really fucking strong and fast and good with weapons.
Mhm.
well,
And then
thank goodness.
all the boys are like,
Thank goodness.
I'm dark and broody, and I've probably killed a guy, but you love me anyway.
For sure. For sure killed like
Yeah.
one guy,
Yeah.
you know.
At
Yeah,
least.
minimum one guy. You'll want that
Minimum,
for
yeah.
yeah. It's good, but you know, and I'm just gonna go all over the place. So there's some kind of crazy vampire government, just some
Yeah.
Italian psychopaths who run
Yeah.
the show.
The vampire pope.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Catholics. We love them.
Here we
The
go.
vampire
Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
Who doesn't love the vampire Catholics? It's wonderful. So, but like at the end, there's a showdown that ends up not being a showdown, and then the vampire government, who for like several books has been like, okay, Bella needs to be a vampire, or we are going to kill her to death, and all of you probably.
Okay.
Then they just leave, and that's fine.
I see your
That's
point,
fine.
Jeremy. I see your point, Jeremy. But you want to talk about, like, people talk about Endgame now, where it's like, yeah, I've never had an experience like that in the theater. You weren't there for Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Good.
When I read the book, okay, I knew, I was like, oh, Atreides coming, this is gonna be boring, they're gonna like talk, and then Carlisle gets his head ripped off, and I'm turning to all the people around me who are all girls, and I'm just like, did you just see the shit that I just saw? And they're all like, yeah, what the hell? That doesn't happen in the books. We were freaking out, man. Like, it was huge.
It was
Yeah.
crazy. And unlike
crazy.
Endgame, I think that the hot take, the Avengers, all of them should have stayed dead. It would have been much more interesting. And it would have actually like made me love that whole universe so much more. But in Twilight, it made total sense because it actually was her just showing what was going to happen. And it was so beautiful and glorious because you even saw the ones who wanted to die and they were like, fuck yeah, please just do it. You know,
Yeah.
and everyone. It was awesome.
Yeah, that I have no complaints about that fight scene and everything, or even how the last movie, like the second half of that movie, is just like it's the X-Men now.
Yeah.
Like that's whatever. My problem is that you know, the horrible government, everyone's like, yeah, these guys suck, and they go around murdering people, and we just kind of have to be okay with that. And then at the end of the movie, they still do, and everyone's like, we did it.
Horror. They're gonna keep
I
killing.
guess.
They drink blood.
Yeah.
Everybody drinks blood, except Charlie.
Stephanie had her finger on the pulse of some like political dark web thing or something. I don't know. You can maybe attribute more to it than is there, or less to it than is there.
Less, I guess. I don't know. I'll take less, I suppose.
I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a bonkers movie, and bonkers books.
Yeah.
But you know,
Absolutely
I'm not
bananas.
going to lie to you, CJ. I've been swayed a little, and I do have one more question to end on, and then and that is what I was gonna ask and completely forgot about. But the line between so bad it's bad and so bad it's glorious. What are your thoughts on that line, both of you?
I'm just gonna say Twilight was so good. It was so good, is all I'm gonna say. So you take it away, Jeremy.
Oh, very well. See, I feel like this
If I must.
series, if I must, thank you. I will say things. I think this series is a perplexing one because I think it straddles the line you're talking about to the point where I cannot watch these things alone and be happy about it. But I can watch these with, I'm guessing, basically any person and have like a rad time doing it, whether they like it or whether they like these things or not. Because that's like, I mean, Colin is in the comments saying that Twilight won for the first Twilight. Baseball made it ridiculous. No, everyone's commitment to the most, like, the silliest things that you've ever seen in ever. That's what made it ridiculous, Colin. Thank you. Baseball is just one of those things that happens, and you're like, might as well. Also, why not? It's fun. Whatever. And then, you know, and then you just have a weird romp for 5 movies of teenage sex Draculas doing their whole thing, and I don't know where it lands in the so bad it's bad or so bad it's good thing. Because, like, I don't know. These movies
But look
are
what it's
just,
done to you. Look at
Exactly.
what it's doing.
it's done It's doing bad things. It's making me consider. It's making me
I see
wonder
it.
aloud, like how is Carlisle a doctor? What does he go to medical school every decade or so?
I think
Or
he's,
like,
he's a glutton for punishment. He's just like, I'm just going to put myself in rooms with blood all the time.
yeah, all the time. But like, logistically, he has to do medical procedures, and he's not from this or the last century of medical advancements.
You can't nitpick the logistics. Like, you know,
I have
Right.
to wonder. I don't know, because like he could legitimately just be out there as some crazy quack,
Horror.
being like, yeah, you've got this broken leg and these festering wounds. Better do cocaine about it. Here's a bottle of hard liquor too, just in case.
You know, I think you're right, Jeremy. And all that to say, you don't know where to put it, but we do have on this show an insanely arbitrary ranking system that might help you. Okay. So how about you kick us off? How many drinks of what kind of beverage does it take to enjoy Stephanie Meyer's Twilight Saga?
Okay, so to enjoy this series to its fullest, either well, my first answer is not a fun one because, as I've said, you can watch this with someone, any rando off the street, and you'll have a time. It'll be great. Drink at your leisure. Probably drink more when there's a baby and stuff. You want to go heavy before that so that you're eased in for when that happens and it's wearing off by the time the child is played by a child. But if you're doing this by yourself and you're a glutton for punishment or whatever, you're gonna want to go hard the whole time. You'll want to start every single one with like 6 shots and just power through. Try not to be awake by the end, and then you can have another drink of something, probably a Rainier. Hey, brought to you by Rainier. Not us, but Twilight, probably.
Twilight, yeah.
Have some of that every time that someone is anytime one of Bella's friends is like, hey, you're a dumbass and you need to do something different. Spoiler alert, that's basically every conversation she has with one of her friends.
Yeah.
About how she's the dumbest person alive. Cool. Also have another drink when after she's told by the vampire government that she needs to become a vampire or be killed, and everybody she talks to acts like she's making a choice to become a vampire. Well, no. She's choosing vampire or death. That's not a choice. That's an ultimatum. So I don't know. This lands somewhere in like the high 40s, low 50s. And I may die.
Yeah. I'm with CJ here. Look what this series has done to you. Like she changed my mind on this whole thing, CJ. And I'm gonna
Travis likes
I'm gonna rank it. I'm gonna say you should pour yourself for every movie or book a strong, tall stout, a real good stout. And you're gonna take a sip at every line where you're just like, that was hilarious. And that's going to be a lot of sips. So you're probably finishing like 2 stouts per movie. Because you're going to be sipping it. This is the skin of a killer, Bella. You're going to be sipping it. What was the Loca one? Where you been?
Yeah, where the hell have you been, Loca?
You're going to take a sip at like pretty much every time Charlie talks. Not that they're bad lines, just that like he's the only sensible person in the series. So, yeah, you're going to probably finish off 2 stouts per movie, make them good. And so with the 5 movies, you'll have 10 stouts. So if you do that in one long sitting, you're going to be very drunk. But if you space these out, I think you'll be feeling a real nice buzz that'll make the movies just fun enough. CJ, why don't you give us your ranking and then tell the folks at Fermented Fiction where to find you and when to look for your next book, because I'm excited for that.
Thank you. I gotta say, I like a stout for this because it feels appropriate for Forks. Kind of cold, rainy weather. I would say instead of drinking on the funny lines, I would do it just every time some man enters Bella's bedroom. Because it's a lot of times. And it's really, we need to like put more emphasis on that, I think. We didn't even talk about that.
We didn't even talk
part.
about the strategic. We didn't even talk about the strategic supplies of jean shorts just hidden throughout the entire forest.
Oh yeah. No, I'm here for that. I'm here for like werewolf jean short logistics for sure. I would say honestly, I could drink it stone cold sober. I love Twilight. I would totally do a drinking game though and take shots for every bedroom infiltration scene and would be on the floor and dead. Loved it. 10 out of 10. What was I giving? What am I doing? Where to find me?
Yep, and where to look for your next book.
I am on Instagram. Siege the Moment is my handle, and I am announcing my full tour for the paperback, which is just like a little mini tour this week. And my next book is American Rapture paperback comes out on Tuesday. My next book, Headlights, the hardcover, comes out June 9th, 2026. Or something like that. June 9th.
Perfect. Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining us today, talking about Twilight. I know we didn't get to everything, but like you said, we could talk about this series forever. It's so bonkers. You've been a joy. Everybody at Fermented Fiction, we've been the usual buffoons, -2, unfortunately, but Jeremy and I holding up the fort. I'm Travis, and CJ Leede has been our guest. Thank you once again. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, there we go.
Thank you. That was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for joining.